a policy that, if he is successful, will cause over 20 million people to lose their coverage in the midst of a pandemic, that has now classified an additional 8.5 million Americans with a pre-existing condition called COVID. If there is no other reason to elect him out of office, that is one. We are in the middle of crises. Because of the pandemic, an economic crisis that people are comparing to the Great Depression. Again, we look at the numbers here in Nevada. I was with the Unite Here workers earlier today. We look at all SEIU brothers and sisters, right? We look at all the working people who are struggling. We are in a moment where it has highlighted in many ways this virus. In my opinion, it has been an accelerator, meaning people who were doing badly before are doing even worse. It has now highlighted the fact that we have to get to an America where everyone has paid sick leave, paid family leave, paid to do their work, but also to have the benefits that any working person should have when we recognize the dignity of the work. But an economic crisis of proportions we have not seen. Again, a clear contrast. Because on the one hand, you have Joe Biden, who when asked about, well, how's the economy doing? How do you measure how well the economy is doing? Joe asks, well, tell me how working people are doing. How are working families doing? Joe Biden says that we're not going to raise taxes on anyone making less than $400,000, and we are going to create a middle-class tax cut, and we are going to make sure working families don't pay more than 7% of their income in child care, and we will make sure that first-time home buyers have a $15,000 tax credit for down payment and closing costs, knowing that is the best way working people can have intergenerational wealth. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who when you ask him, how's the economy doing, he wants to know, well, how's the stock market doing? He cares about how rich people are doing. One of his first initiatives was to pass a tax code benefiting the top 1% and the biggest corporations of America. There's a clear contrast, because in a Biden-Harris administration, we're about to get rid of that. And invest that money in working people. Invest that money in building infrastructure. Invest that money in what we know needs to happen to support the folks who have built the middle class of America. There's a clear contrast in this election. A public health crisis, an economic crisis, a long overdue reckoning on racial injustice in America. And on the one hand, you have a Joe Biden, who is a student of American history. He is a truth teller, and he has the courage to speak the phrase, Black Lives Matter. Joe Biden has the courage to speak the truth, that there are racial disparities that span our healthcare system to our economy, to our educational systems, and we must speak truth no matter how uncomfortable it may be to hear, so that we can fight not only for equality, but for equity. Joe understands that. He understands we need to have a criminal justice system that is true to that concept of equal justice under law, and it needs to be reformed to the point that we get rid of mandatory minimums, that we decriminalize marijuana, that we expunge the records of those who have been convicted for marijuana offenses, that we shut down private prisons, that we get rid of cash bail, because it is not only a criminal justice issue, it is an economic justice issue. Joe understands that. He understands on the issue of policing. We got to speak truth about it. And there needs to be consequence and accountability when anyone breaks the law, including a police officer. And so Joe says, We will ensure that there will be a ban on chokeholds and carotid holds, because George Floyd would be alive today if that were the case. Joe says we will have a national registry on police officers who break the law, so they can't get fired in one place and then pick up and move to another place to get hired. Joe understands these things. On the other hand, you have a Donald Trump, who, remember, at the debate before last, was given an opportunity in front of 70 million Americans to condemn white supremacists, but refused to do that, and then doubled down and said, stand back and stand by. And it wasn't like this was just a one-off. Remember, this is the guy who started running for office questioning the legitimacy of the first black president of the United States. This is someone who, on the issue of Charlottesville, where there were peaceful protesters protesting racial injustice in America, and a young woman was killed that day. And on the other side, there were a group of neo-Nazis wearing swastikas, carrying tiki torches, spewing racial epithets, anti-Semitic epithets. And then what did Donald Trump say? There were fine people on each side. This is a president of the United States who called Mexicans rapists and criminals. And one of his first acts after he got elected was to institute a Muslim ban. There's a clear choice for America right now. Because you see, Joe understands that we are better than this. Joe understands that it is enough. We've had enough with supposed leaders trying to sow hate and division among us, trying to turn Americans against each other. Joe understands that the real measure of anyone's strength is measured not based on who you beat down, it's measured based on who you lift up. There's a real choice in this election. And we're dealing with a climate crisis. And I don't need to tell Nevada. Look, the West is burning. We know that. The West is burning. These wildfires, I have gone to the site of the wildfires. I have met with the families who were evacuated, who lost everything they had. I have met with firefighters who were fighting fires while their own homes were burning. My brother-in-law is a firefighter. I have seen, we have seen the destruction based on an extreme change in our climate. The Gulf Coast states, battered by those storms. Midwestern states, where farmers have lost a whole season of crops because of the floods. Joe Biden understands you need to deal with science. You need to understand this is representing an existential threat to who we are as a species. Joe Biden understands we need to deal with this with a sense of urgency because the clock is ticking on this. And also understands, therefore, we need timelines. Net zero emissions by 2050. We need timelines, understanding with a sense of urgency we can deal with the crisis and also see the opportunity to create jobs and invest in infrastructure that is about renewable energy and good paying jobs and good paying union jobs. On the other hand, you have a Donald Trump who, you all might have seen this. For you who didn't, I kid you not. So he's asked about the wildfires in California, Jackie. He's asked about the wildfires in California, Stephen. And the question came in kind of like, so the scientists are telling us about the extreme conditions and contributing to the wildfires, and human behaviors are also contributing to the damage to our environment. And the President of the United States, responds with, science doesn't know. Now, what is that? He's the President of the United States. Well, guess what, Mr. Trump? Science does know and you don't. So there is so much at stake in this election. And again, I'm here to thank you guys, because look, I'm traveling around the country. I've been spending time all over, in Florida and North Carolina. I was in Ohio and Michigan. And here's the thing, Georgia, I was in Georgia. The thing that you guys know is that all over our country, there are people trying to mess with the vote. You know, even the President of the United States, as far as I'm concerned, at that first debate, stood on that debate stage and openly encouraged suppression of the vote, right? And so when we think about this election, we know we have to be organized. We know we have to be motivated. We know we have to spread the word. Because there are so many reasons for us to vote. Now, normally we think of one or two, but I actually think of 3 reasons why everybody should vote. One is, let's honor the ancestors. Let's honor the ancestors. We lost the great Congressman John Lewis this year, who was an extraordinary, extraordinary human being. John Lewis was a modern-day hero. He shed blood on that Edmund Pettus Bridge for the right for black people in America to vote. And John Lewis was a civil rights fighter. He knew an extension of that fight was his fight for marriage equality. He knew an extension of that fight was his fight for immigrants. He understood that. So let's honor the ancestors. Let's honor the ancestors when this year we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. All those suffragettes in their white, marching and shouting. Let's honor the ancestors. On that, let's also, always remember history and facts. Black women couldn't vote until 1965. But let's honor the ancestors. That's a reason to vote. Another reason to vote, everything is at stake. Everything is at stake. You can go down the list. Everything we talked about, including, is there going to be a president who cares about public education for our children and understands Betsy DeVos is not the right way to go? A president who cares about America's standing in the world, understanding the difference between our allies and adversaries. Everything is at stake. And that's a reason to vote. And the third reason to vote, I believe, is this. So traveling around the country, ever since 2013 in particular, we can go back, but let's go just as recently as 2013. The Supreme Court, the United States Supreme Court, gutted the Voting Rights Act.
All right, this is Andrew Kraft. You're watching News Now from Fox. We've been hearing from Senator Kamala Harris there in Las Vegas, Nevada. She's on the campaign trail. She's had a number of events today. She's speaking to voters there, and she'll be in Arizona tomorrow. We'll bring you that live on News Now from Fox. But as you know, we've been following all of these developments out of West Philadelphia today. We've been showing you aerial pictures of looting, the Walmart, a lot of people taking trash bags full of things, TVs and such. And we have a live report from our sister station, WTXF there, Fox 29, with Chris O'Connell. He is on the scene there. Chris, what can you tell us? What are you seeing tonight there in West Philadelphia?
Good evening, Andrew. Philadelphia, the city is bracing for another night of potential unrest here after the police shooting of a 27-year-old Philadelphia man. Police were called here yesterday afternoon with a report of a man with a knife. When police arrived, 2 officers ended up shooting this man in the middle of the street, right in front of his own mother, in front of many neighbors. Now, family members tell us tonight that Walter Wallace Jr. was suffering from mental illness, and they have serious questions as to why police use such force. Now, the shooting touched off a wide range of emotions throughout the city. It touched off a night of unrest. 90 people were arrested last night for looting and other offenses. 30 police officers were injured after they were struck with bricks and projectiles. One police lieutenant was struck by from what we understand, an intentional run over by a pickup truck. Now, we can tell you businesses across the city of Philadelphia, Andrew, tonight are boarding up their businesses, bracing for yet another night of unrest. The Pennsylvania National Guard has been activated. Several hundred members have been activated and deployed to Philadelphia, so they are bracing for a night of unrest. We are also told already there has been some disturbances within the city of Philadelphia, but right now Walter Wallace's family is asking Philadelphia police heavy questions tonight about the police response. Andrew?
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Fuck the law! All that bullshit! Look out! Put these on our Hey, Parker, look!
I apologize there. My audio was down. Chris, just wanted to ask you, what's next on the district attorney level? We heard from him today. I know he's trying to collect the body camera footage from those officers, and we heard from the police commissioner today. Do you have any more updates on what we could possibly see next?
Well, the district attorney, Larry Krasner, has instituted and is being handled now by a special investigative unit, the police-involved special investigation unit. That is who will handle this case along with Philadelphia police. We can also tell you that those 2 shooting officers were wearing police-issued body camera footage. It is now up to the Philadelphia police commissioner as to when that footage will be released.
All right there. Fox 29's Chris O'Connell, thank you so much for that live report there in West Philadelphia. We'll be following this story all on NewsNOW from Fox throughout the night. Thanks, Chris. We want to take it back now out to Las Vegas, Nevada, where Senator Kamala Harris is speaking, and she's addressing voters at a Get Out the Vote event in Las Vegas. Let's go back to that.
The strength of ourselves and each other. And my final point is this. This moment will pass. And years from now, our children, our grandchildren, others, they're going to look in our eyes, each one of us. They're going to look in our eyes, and they will ask us, where were you? Where were you at that moment? And what we're going to be able to tell them is so much more than just how we felt. We are going to tell them what we did. We are going to tell them we were hanging out on this particular afternoon in this field with Jackie Rosen and Stephen Horsfeld, and Kamala was on this stage walking back and forth. We're going to tell them that we organized, that we emailed, that we called, that we texted everybody we know multiple times, and we were okay if they got sick of us because we knew they'd come back around. We will tell them that we stood up and we fought for this country we love. And we will tell them we elected Joe Biden the next president of the United States. Thank you, Nevada. Thank you. Just one day, yeah.
All right, then Senator Kamala Harris is all done speaking there in Las Vegas. The Biden campaign is looking to make Nevada go blue once again. It went blue in 2016. You'll remember Hillary Clinton picked up the silver state there in 2016. And some of the recent polling out has Biden up by only a little bit in Nevada. Senator Harris will be in Arizona tomorrow. We'll bring you that on News Now from Fox as well. In the meantime, we want to go back out to California, where Mayor Eric Garcetti of Los Angeles was speaking about the coronavirus pandemic there. Let's go back to that.
And across the coast here in California, numbers that are so much lower than the rest of the country right now. And that really is testament not just to the innovation and the work of the county and the cities of Los Angeles County together, but of you, your adherence to mask wearing, your adherence to hand washing, your adherence to physical distancing, and so much more. But the three essential pillars of our response have been the following. First is to always follow science-based leadership, where we've always based our action on data and hard facts, not on our feelings. And the best advice of our public health experts, here represented by our public health department of the county, we understood early on what testing could do to get us back on track, to save lives and to stop the spread. Second has been a spirit of innovation that I was just detailing. A city and a region that's been built and strengthened on innovation, whether it's in aerospace and manufacturing, international trade, or Hollywood. We know that this is a place where generation after generation of dreamers and doers come, and we wanted to apply that right here as well. In August, we organized a dialogue with Duke University, Harvard University, USC, and the Rockefeller Foundation. And we asked a group of mayors as well that I brought together from around the country who was interested in piloting this. What's next and what will it take to get rapid at-home or at-work testing? And finally, the third part of our response, and perhaps the most important, has been the power of our partnerships, reflected here today. Our entire COVID-19 response has grown out of our collaboration and cooperation between the city and county, medical providers and frontline workers, researchers, policymakers, and we simply couldn't have gotten this far. Safer at home, masks, testing, tracing, and more, without doing this work together. Today we're seeing all these blocks in action. We're leading as one of the first places in the nation to try out these rapid antigen tests. We are innovating, conducting this study, first with firefighters, who I want to thank for not only stepping up with this test, but they were the ones who have been running our testing together with the volunteers from CORE since the beginning of this, to understand how tests work and where they can do the most good. And we're tapping into partnerships as well with so many people involved. Of course, LA County Department of Public Health, the USC School of Public Policy, the Rockefeller Foundation that I mentioned giving the funding to get this off the ground, Curative, our vital partner in evaluating and processing test results, Celex and Goss, the companies providing the tests for the LAFD study, and Cedars-Sinai, which has been an exceptional leader from the beginning of this, for supporting the staffing to make this pilot study possible. Side by side, we're committed to this partnership for the clear reasons. First, these tests are cheaper. Excuse me. They're more user-friendly, and they produce much faster results. Cheaper, faster, easy to use. That will help us break the chain of transmission very quickly. You see, this could be the game changer we've been waiting for, but we have to assess that. A day that we could see where we all get tested in our homes and know immediately whether to isolate or quarantine. A day when we can restore enough confidence to send our kids back to classrooms and make sure that parents don't have to be teachers at home. A day when we can look past this pandemic and see our lives begin to be restored, our economies re-strengthened, and have a more equitable city, county, and country. Thank you all for being a part of this, and I really do believe that Los Angeles will continue to lead the way. And with that, let me introduce one of those leaders who's been so critical, Dr. Niraj Sood, who has come before to our press conferences, but will be a critical part of assessing this and making sure it helps you. Dr. Sood?
Hi, I'm truly honored and excited to be co-leading this partnership with the City of Los Angeles, Los Angeles County, and USC. I want to thank Mayor Garcetti, Supervisor Barker, and Chief Terrazzo, and USC President Folt, yes, for, for their leadership. So what, as Mayor Garcetti said, what we are trying to do here is evaluate rapid antigen tests. These tests show a lot of promise because they are cheap.
All right, we want to just break in there. We were showing you Mayor Eric Garcetti out of Los Angeles from earlier today, giving an update on the coronavirus. But the president is in Nebraska now. He's speaking at the podium. This is his third and final campaign stop of a busy day. He was in Michigan and Wisconsin earlier. So let's listen in to President Trump at his last rally for the day with just 7 days left before the election.
For African Americans, the lowest it's ever been in history.
How's the economy right now? We're loving it.
Kennedy credits the Trump tax cuts and deregulation for her company's growth.
It's the first time in 10 years that it's booming again.
The tax cuts that were imposed did wonders for the middle class.
I will cut taxes even further for hardworking moms and dads. I will not raise taxes. I will cut them.
First thing I do is going to repeal this Trump tax cut.
Do you believe there is systemic racism in law enforcement?
Absolutely.
I've been a police officer for nearly 32 years. Joe Biden does not have the backs of police officers.
Joe Biden's staffers, they gave money to a fund to help bail out accused criminals.
Joe Biden's silence is encouraging the rioters.
Kamala Harris was working to help the instigators, the criminals, get out of jail.
If Joe Biden's elected, it's just going to continue.
Everyone beware, because they're not going to stop.
The only person who's defended the police is Trump.
I have had overwhelming support from police my whole career up until this year.
We can reduce the responsibilities assigned to the police and redirect some of the funding for police. Can we agree that we can redirect some of the funding?
Yes, absolutely.
In Joe Biden's America, we'll all be in danger. If you support the police and you want to be safe in your home and you want your children safe, support Donald Trump.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, that's pretty effective. You know what that costs to bring to you tonight? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Pretty effective, right? You see it. It saves me a lot of words. I can sit here, watch, I say, see? Nah, he's not the right guy. He's not the right guy. He's not right for this country. He's not the guy for this country. This election is a choice between the American dream, which is what we want, and a socialist nightmare, which is where you would head if you ever did that, which I don't believe you'll do. It's a choice between a Trump boom and a Biden lockdown. He wants to lock it all down. No, we close it up. We understand the disease. It's a terrible thing. Should never have been allowed to come here from China. Should never have been allowed. Joe Biden will delay the vaccine, postpone therapies, prolong the pandemic, shutter your schools, right? Shutter your schools, destroy your small businesses, and shut down our country. We're not doing that. Look, we are setting records, 11.4 million people. It's all opened up. We understand it, and we are doing a job. We are literally setting records on employment. Look at housing. Look at automobile production. Look at how you're doing in Nebraska. Look at how you're doing in Nebraska. Biden even wants to lock down young and healthy Americans, yet for those under the age of 50, I hate to say this, you're under the age of 50. How many are under the age of 50? Pretty young. Well, I have good news for you. 99.99, okay? You know what that means? That means you're in good shape. That's what that means. But you notice the fake news now, right? All they talk about is COVID, 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 and we've made such progress. It's incredible. Excuse me, I'm here. I do that. Right? I mean, I wasn't exactly feeling great. It's been a long time. I wasn't exactly feeling great. And I met with great doctors. One thing, when you're president, you got plenty of doctors. We have one of them here tonight, I think, right? We have our great White House doctors traveling. Sean, he's become very famous. Where's Sean? He's become, oh, is that Sean? Look at Sean. Look at him. Wow. You know, he's got a big ego. He loves it when I mention his name. No, he's a great doctor, and they were great doctors from Johns Hopkins and from Walter Reed and everything else. And what we know today is like so different than what we knew 6 months ago. Incredible. The progress they've made, and with the vaccines, which are coming immediately, even without, we're turning that corner. You know, at some point, we're turning that corner, and it's been pretty amazing. Florida had a rough time. Boom, it's back. It's all the way down. Texas, all the way down. Arizona, great governors, all the way down. Biden's cruel and senseless lockdowns would cause countless deaths from suicide, drug overdose, and delayed medical care, alcohol. I mean, so many different problems. Remember, I'd say the cure cannot be worse than the problem itself. That's what you have. When I banned travel from China, remember he said, now he says, oh, we should have done it sooner, except when I banned it for 2.5 months, he said, he shouldn't do that, he's xenophobic, right? And now he says, oh, I should have done it earlier. And he had a thing called the swine flu. It was a disaster, much less lethal. It was a disaster. He was a disaster. He's still a disaster, actually. If we listened to Joe, countless more people would have died. They were anticipating it could be 2.2 million. You don't hear that, 2.2 million. And you know the number. It's still, one is too many as far as I'm concerned. One is too many. This shouldn't have happened. One is too many. But it could have been 2.2. It could have been more than that. Biden was willing to sacrifice your lives on the altar of open borders. He wants open borders. Without borders, you don't have... Without borders, you don't have a country. By the way, the wall is now over 400 miles long. And we're building 10 miles a week, and it's very soon going to be finished. So we have the strongest southern border we've ever had. And we want people to come into our country, but they have to come in legally, and they have to come in through merit. Merit. Biden has no plan, no idea, no clue. He has no clue, that's for sure. And he just wants to lock up and throw away the keys, letting rioters and looters run wild. And you know, it's interesting. They call them peaceful protesters. They burn down your cities. They do things that nobody's seen before, all in radical left, Democrat-run cities and states, but cities, all of them, all of them. And every time we go in, we were going to go into Seattle, we let them know we're coming in. The night before we came in, they gave up, they left. They took over a piece of Seattle, that wasn't gonna last. Minneapolis, the same thing. We went into Minneapolis, we went in, you know, we have to be asked in theory by the state. We went into Minneapolis and it all ended. It took about, what do you think, 25 minutes or so. It was just boom, right down the street. No, you know, the Republican-run cities are doing very well. The Republican-run cities. And I hope you agree, because I know he's here, but you have a very good Republican governor. You do know that, right? Whoa. Listen to that. Good. Good. Hi, Pete. Good. Pete, I'm glad they did that. You know, I want to do that. Otherwise, I just wouldn't introduce you later. You know, keep it quiet. They like you, Pete. The Biden plan will crush you and crush your family. My plan will crush the virus, and you will see economic benefits like we've never seen in our country before. That's where we're headed. When the China plague arrived, we moved heaven and earth to fight the disease. We airlifted medical supplies, pioneered groundbreaking therapies, reduced the fatality rate 85%, think of that, and saved over 2 million lives. Our excess mortality rate has been 42% less than Europe. You hear about Europe, 42% less, much better than Europe. I'm working to make the breakthrough treatment that I received. I did. I had this thing called Regeneron. I don't know. I'd like to say it had nothing to do. I'd like to say my immune system is just like Barron Trump. You know, First Lady had it. I had it. Barron had it. They said, sir, Barron has tested positive. Like 12 minutes later, I said, how's Barron doing? Oh, he's okay now, sir. He threw it away. He just took that and threw it away, you know. They're young and they have strong immune systems, but I'd like to say the treatment didn't do anything for me. Doctor, do you hear that? Didn't do. I just threw it away like Barron. But you know what? I wasn't going to take my chance. I said, you have something, give it to me. And it was effective because I woke up the next morning after being with these doctors. They wanted to touch every single part of your body, and I didn't like it. 12 of them. Each one was a specialist, right? Every single one, but they were great. No, they were great. But I woke up the next morning, and I'll tell you, I felt like, get me out of here. It was amazing. So I really think this thing was great. It's great. I think it was great. And you know, I don't have the luxury of staying in a basement. I'm president of the United States. I don't. I can't be staying. I really can't. You can't stay. I had a lot of meetings. I meet a lot of people. As president, I have that obligation. So we have basements in the White House. I could stay. We have beautiful bedrooms upstairs at the White House. I could stay for a year and a half. I can't do that. I have to be working for you. And if something happens, it happens. And I get, you know, they came in, they said, sir, you've tested positive. I said, tested positive for what? Then you go into one of the 27 different names. Corona, this China virus, the China plague, the China plague. That's what I tested positive for. But it was amazing, and it was actually an experience. And until I came along, you were supposed to have lifetime immunity, right? I said, well, you know, I'm recovered. I feel great. And I'm immune. I could jump right into this row, and I could kiss every man and woman. Every man and woman. But because it was me, the press said, no, it's not for a lifetime. It's only for 4 months. The immunity is only now for 4 months. They brought it down, right? It was always going to be for a lifetime. Now it's 4 months. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's one of those things. But I guarantee you this. On November 4th, you won't be hearing as much about this. It's going to be, right now, it's COVID, 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 no matter what happens. COVID, COVID. And on November 4th, you'll probably try and find some information about it. No, we're rounding the term. We're rounding that beautiful turn, and it's going to be very good. The vaccines are going to make it go away a lot faster, and they're going to be great. The greatest companies of their kind in the world are doing it. Really good. Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, they really are great. Pfizer. Thanks to our relentless efforts, 97% of all current emergency room visits are for something other than the virus. Think of that, 97%. We're in great shape. And in the one areas, the Midwest, the little areas in the Midwest, certain areas that are heated up right now, they'll go down. They'll go down very quickly. They'll be down within 2 weeks, they're figuring. They'll go down, just like they did in Florida, Texas, Arizona, and so many others. We're on track to deliver 100 million doses of a safe vaccine and a great vaccine, and that's all set. We're all set logistically. Our military is going to deliver it. It'll be done very quickly. We will vanquish the vaccine, and we will get rid of this whole thing. We will get rid of this virus. It'll be you watch. It's going to happen very quickly, and we're going to have our country back, and the whole world is going to be coming back. This was a terrible, terrible thing that happened. Terrible thing that happened. Terrible thing that happened. Joe Biden has made a corrupt bargain in exchange for his party's nomination. He has handed control of his party over to the rage-filled socialists, Marxists, and left-wing extremists. And could we put another name in there? Starts with a C. Communists, yes. No, we got a couple of them too, unfortunately. If Biden wins, the flag-burning extremists on the streets will be running your government. It's not going to happen. By the way, just so you know, we are so far, you listen to the fakers back there, look at them. You listen to the fake news. We are so far ahead. This is going to be bigger than 4 years ago. By the way, get out and vote. You got to. That's the only thing. I mean, I'm standing here freezing. I ask you one little favor. Get the hell out and vote. The great red wave. At least you're down there with each other. I'm all up here and that wind is blowing. This election day, you must stop the anti-American radicals. And really, I mean, that's what they are. They're radicals. We can solve these problems so quickly if the governments would just say, would you please come in, federal government? We stop it in a matter of minutes. It goes so fast. The radicals delivering Joe Biden, you have to do this. You have to deliver them a message, the far left, a thundering defeat at the ballot box on November 3rd. It's got to be a big one. We've got to win big, and we're going to win big. You know, I'm watching them, and they're getting, like 3 weeks ago, I don't know, they were doing these fake polls, and they felt very good, and then a week ago, they were feeling okay. They're not feeling so good right now. They're saying, these are not good numbers. Was that one of the greatest evenings ever 4 years ago? And you know the difference is, and I say this is easier, there's more, look at this crowd. I mean, we had big crowds. We never had crowds like this. Look at this crowd, 29,000. You have 29,000 people in Omaha. That's pretty good. And you're all on television. Say hello. You're on national television. See all the red lights? That means the cameras are going. That means those cameras are going. 29,000 people, they say. 29,000. Yeah. You know who spoke today? President Barack Hussein Obama. He had 12 people and 7 cars. Did you hear them? No, he draws flies. I've never seen. He had no people. I thought he'd have some people, and he brought Bon Jovi along. You know what happened to Bon Jovi? They increased the crowd by 22 people. Can you believe it? And then Joe spoke, and that crowd left. And we have 29,000 people here, and we had a tremendous crowd in Michigan, and a tremendous crowd in Wisconsin. And they're trying to figure out, like, if Trump is getting these crowds, and if Biden's getting like 12 people, you know the circles, he fills in the circles, they got like 5 of them. And a lot of times they put reporters in there because they have no people. But today he tried to blame that on COVID also. He said, no, we don't seek large crowds because we want it because of the virus, right? They don't want the large crowd. That's not the reason, okay? That's not the reason. It's a hell of an excuse, but it's not the reason. We're thrilled to be joined by the man we were just talking about. He's a friend of mine. He loves his state. He loves his country. And he's a great governor, Pete Ricketts. Pete, great job. Great job. What a good guy. What a good man. How's your state doing, Pete? All right, good. How are we doing? By the way, we're going to be okay here, right? He says good? Good. Thank you very much, Pete. And his brother Todd, another one, really good. Now, there's only 2 people that are better, Joe and Marlene. Now, Todd is great, but they will both admit Joe and Marlene are better, right? And you're here. Hi, Joe. I like the hat. Hi, Joe. You got to be proud of your boys. They're doing a great job. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Great family. Here as well are Senators Deb Fisher, who's fantastic. She is my favorite senator from the state of Nebraska. By far. By far. She's fantastic. She is, I'll tell you what, she calls me, it doesn't stop. Between her and Joni Ernst from Iowa, who I think is here. Where's Joni? Joni. They call. Sir, we need help with ethanol. Sir, we need help with corn. It's always, but you know what? That's what a great senator, that's what a great representative is supposed to do, right? Joni, thank you very much. And I heard you're doing very well. I just saw some very nice numbers. And Deb, you don't have to worry about numbers, right? You don't have to worry about numbers. I'm with you all the time. Thank you both. And yeah, it looks very good in Iowa. Thank you very much. Good. And Representatives Jeff Fortenberry, a warrior. Where's Jeff? Thank you, Jeff. Great, great guy. Don Bacon. What's this? Wow. Wow. Well, I like him too, but I don't know if I like him that much. That's very good. I'll tell you, you better get me Omaha. Do you understand that? It's a, now I know. I wouldn't have asked him, but now I'm going to say, make sure we win this side too, right? Good. How we doing, Don? I hear good, huh? Good. I'm very impressed. That's about as good as I've heard in a long time. And Adrian Smith. Adrian, great job. Great job. Great to have you here. It's a great group of people, and these are warriors. They fought with me a lot. They fought with me. We keep winning over there, but it's not easy, right? But it gets easier and easier all the time. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. For decades, our politicians spent trillions and trillions of dollars rebuilding foreign nations, fighting foreign wars, and defending foreign borders. But now we are finally protecting our nation, rebuilding our cities, and we are bringing our jobs, our factories, and our troops back home to the USA. Our troops are coming home. Thank you. No, our troops are coming back home. It's enough. 19 years in Afghanistan, and we haven't worked, and they're coming home, and it's a great thing. And they're home from Syria. They're home. I left some because we kept the oil, if you don't mind. There was some oil. And we captured it. We kept it. And coming home from Iraq, it's enough. It's enough. We want to have them all home. We have a lot of other countries, too. We were in many, many, many countries, most of which you never even heard of, right? You never even heard of. It's ridiculous. I ended and by the way, making our military stronger by far than ever before. I ended the NAFTA nightmare and proudly signed the brand new USMCA, which is turning out to be phenomenal. It's a great deal. It's a great deal, just kicked in now. And you know what? Companies will not be leaving Nebraska and Iowa and all of our places. There's a very big disincentive for them to do that. When China targeted our farmers, I delivered $28 billion to our incredible farmers here in Nebraska and Iowa and all across the country. Don't forget to tell the people of Iowa that, please. $28 billion. I said to Secretary Sonny Perdue of Agriculture, you know, Sonny is great. I said, Sonny, how much were the farmers targeted? And he said, 12 billion, sir, and 16 billion, 2 years, 12 and 16. I said, 28, good. So I tariffed 28 billion, took it from China, and distributed it to our farmers. Nobody else is going to do that. In fact, some people say our farmers do better now than they did when they actually had a farm. But we did. We had the biggest order of corn 2 weeks ago in the history of our country, the biggest order of soybeans, and the biggest beef order, right? 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Joe Biden's running mate, the most liberal member of the U.S. Senate, you know who that is, right? Sponsors the insane Green New Deal. $100 trillion. You too can have no windows in your buildings, which would wipe out the ethanol industry, Joni. It would totally wipe out that industry. We worked hard on that industry, and they're now in good shape. Devastating Nebraska and devastating Iowa. As president, I will always defend ethanol, okay? All right? Does Nebraska like ethanol too, by the way? Okay, good. I need that little assurance. I need that little bit of assurance. Under my leadership, we achieved the most secure border in U.S. history, our southern border, largely because of the wall. My opponent's insane immigration plan would completely eliminate U.S. borders. Open borders they want to have. Let's have open borders so everyone can just pour in like they used to. He would make every community into a sanctuary city for violent criminals. So, we invested $2.5 trillion, a lot of it right here from this state and from Joni, from Iowa. $2.5 trillion. New equipment. Our military is in the best shape it's ever been in. We have the greatest equipment anywhere in the world. We are the envy of every other country, Russia, China, North Korea. We have the best missiles and rockets and tanks and planes and fighter jets, F-35s, submarines, and our nuclear weapons are now renovated and/or new and fixed, and we only hope to God we never have to use them. Hope to God. Our military was very much in bad shape. It was depleted. It was depleted. It was exhausted. It was ridiculous. We killed the leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi. They were looking for him for a long time. And we took out the world's top terrorist. Soleimani is dead. I withdrew from the last administration's disastrous and ridiculous Iran nuclear deal, $150 billion. We paid for nothing, and $1.8 billion in cash. I'm more impressed with that. What do you think, Pop? I think I'm more impressed. $150 billion or $1.8 billion in cash. I think I'm more impressed with the cash. You ever hear of a thing like that? That's what we gave to Iran for nothing. We got nothing. I recognized the true capital of Israel and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. And I also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. Think of that. They worked on that for 52 years. I got it done in 2 hours. And instead of never-ending wars in the Middle East, you see what's happening. Already 3 countries, and we have 5 lined up, and we're going to have another. It's an easy one. It's a lot easier than you would think. They worked on this for 35 years. They had the wrong people. They had the wrong concepts. But, you know, I got nominated for 3 Nobel Peace Prizes. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? And for all different regions. Like Kosovo and Serbia, we're doing deals, you know, trade deals. Just normally we're doing trade deals. I said, wait a minute, aren't they always fighting each other? Yeah. Aren't they always killing each other? Yeah. For many decades, sir, how did you know? I said, I know, they're killing them. They fight each other all the time. Tell them we're not going to do any business with them. They want our business, right? And we're not going to do any business unless we make a deal where they stop killing each other. And you know what? It took about 20 minutes. They've been fighting for 40 years. I think they've been fighting for 400 years, you want to know the truth, but they've been fighting for a long time. They want to make a deal. All of a sudden, 2 months ago, they're in the Oval Office, hugging the 2 prime ministers, hugging and kissing and thinking, great. That was easy, Joe, right? That was easy. It just makes sense. I just said, hey, why don't we get them together? I mean, we're going to do these 2 deals. Tell them to stop fighting, and we save a lot of lives. That's a good thing. But we're forging peace in the Middle East without blood all over the sand, and we're not spending money. You're doing it either. It's something very nice. Because we're pulling out. A vote for Republicans is a vote for the American dream. It's a vote for acknowledgement that Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. Is that nice? People don't know that. A lot of people don't know that. So in conclusion, over the next 4 years, we will make America into the manufacturing superpower of the world, and we will end our reliance on China, and that's already begun, largely already begun. We will hire more police, increase penalties for assaults on law enforcement, and we will ban deadly sanctuary cities. We will defend religious liberty, free speech, the right to life, and the right to keep and bear arms. We will maintain America's unrivaled military might, and we will ensure peace through strength. And that's what we have now with what we have. We will end surprise medical billing, require price transparency that's bigger than health care. You watch, already signed kicks in on January 1st. Lower drug prices even more. We signed favored nations. That means we're going to get the lowest price anywhere in the world. Right now, we're by far the highest. And we will always protect patients with pre-existing conditions. America will land the first woman on the moon, and the United States will be the first nation to land an astronaut on Mars. And NASA is the #1 space center anywhere in the world again. It was a mess 3.5 years ago. We will stop the radical indoctrination of our students and restore patriotic education to our school. We will teach our children to love our country, honor our history, and always respect our great American flag. And we will live by the timeless words of our national motto, "In God we trust." For years, you had a president who apologized to America. Now you have a president who is standing up for America and standing up for the great people of Nebraska and Iowa. So get your friends, get your family, get your neighbors, and get your coworkers, get your boss, and say, "Boss, get out of here, boss. Get out and vote. You gotta vote. The red wave is coming, the great red wave." Now we're doing very well. Those early ballots, you know, the whole ballot hoax, you see what's going on. There's so many bad things happening, but we're doing very well. You know, we're supposed to be a little behind, and then we're a little bit above, right? But that wave comes, and now we go to the front of everything. I think we're going to win everything. We didn't come this far and fight this hard to surrender our country back to the corrupt Washington swamp. So on November 3rd, we must finish the job that we started. We have done a job like nobody. There has been no administration, nobody, and it's us all together. There has been no administration has done in the first 3.5 years what this administration has done. Not even close. Not even close. Not even close. From Norfolk to Hastings, from Grand Island to Lincoln, and from Scotts Bluff to right here in Omaha, we inherit the legacy of Nebraska patriots who gave their blood, sweat, and tears for this beloved nation. We stand on the shoulders of American heroes who crossed the ocean, settled a continent, tamed the wilderness, laid down the railroads, raised up the great skyscrapers, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and made America the single greatest nation in the history of the world, and the best is yet to come. Proud citizens like you help build this country, and together we are taking back our country. We are returning power to you, the American people. With your help, your devotion, and your drive, we are going to keep on working, we are going to keep on fighting, and we are going to keep on winning, winning, winning. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together with the incredible people of Nebraska and Iowa, we have made America powerful again. We have made America wealthy again. We have made America strong again. We have made America proud again. We have made America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Nebraska. Thank you, Iowa. Thank you both. Thank you. Get out and vote.
All right, you were just watching the president give his third and final campaign stop today, 7 days before the general election in Omaha, Nebraska there, giving a shout out to the state's governor there, Pete Ricketts, also one of the senators from the state of Nebraska, Deb Fisher. One of the senators the president did mention was Senator Ben Sasse. They've had plenty of disagreements in the past. The Omaha area, right there on the border of Iowa, is in contention for the president. Remember, Nebraska splits electoral votes. So the president, in kind of a weird twist, campaigning in Nebraska just 7 days before the general. He also gave a shout out to Senator Joni Ernst of neighboring Iowa, who is in the audience as well. Iowa is also close, weirdly enough, this cycle. So the president will be flying back to the White House today, and he'll be on the campaign trail for the next several days, holding multiple stops. And we've been following this all here on NewsNOW from Fox. I'm Andrew Kraft, digital journalist here based in Phoenix, Arizona. It is almost 7 p.m. here, 10 p.m. on the East Coast. And we want to take you over now to some of the other stories we're following tonight, especially out of the city of brotherly love in Philadelphia. As you can see, the looting is continuing there in West Philadelphia. We've been following these images and these pictures all night of many people who are upset and disgruntled at the death of Walter Wallace Jr. at the hands of the police just yesterday. We showed you pictures aerially from our sister station, WTXF in Philadelphia, Fox 29, of people raiding a Walmart, taking big screen TVs, flat screen TVs, trash bags, full of items. We also heard from members of Walter Wallace's family today at a press conference just about a few hours ago, from his mother, Catherine, from his father, and from his 3 very, very young children. We showed you earlier aerials also. About 500 people had gathered at a West Philadelphia park tonight and began marching peacefully through the neighborhood. This seems to be separate from the looting we're seeing right now. You'll see in this store right here just people with garbage bags full of items. And we've been hearing from local officials in the city there that Pennsylvania National Guard is issuing several hundred guardsmen, expecting to arrive within the city within 24 to 48 hours. That's according to the Associated Press. And police said about 30 officers were injured last night, the start of all of this unrest, most of them hit with thrown objects like bricks. One officer was hospitalized tonight still with a broken leg after being purposefully run over by a pickup truck. We heard that bit of detail from our Fox 29 reporter on the scene, Chris O'Connell, who told us that. And you're just seeing more and more people from this live shot we have steal and loot many, many items. Some of these people's faces aren't even covered, and they're unabashedly going in there, taking advantage of this situation in the Port Richmond neighborhood of West Philadelphia, where Walter Wallace was shot and killed just yesterday. Wallace's father, Walter Wallace Sr., we heard from earlier, said he's haunted by the way his son was, quote, butchered. He said, quote, "It's in my mind. I can't even sleep at night. I can't even close my eyes." Police officials have told us those officers were wearing body cameras, but that footage hasn't been released yet. Many have already seen that cell phone video that was recorded at the scene on social media, posted after the shooting. Officers yelled for Wallace to drop a knife. Wallace's mother, Catherine, was also in the video, trying to get him to listen to the officers. Wallace didn't drop that knife. He then advanced toward those officers, and they fired several times. He was pronounced dead a short time later at the hospital yesterday. He was hit in the shoulder and the chest. And so now we're looking at the consequences of that, where West Philadelphians are looting their community, causing destruction to many businesses there. We saw Target boarded up. We saw people taking flat screen TVs from that Walmart supercenter, putting them on the roof of their cars, trying to stuff as much stuff in their cars as well. We know last night around 90 people were arrested after this looting and unrest. We don't have any numbers yet tonight. It's about 10 p.m. Eastern there in Philadelphia. And we've seen just many scenes like this throughout the last several months around the country. Minneapolis comes to mind. Kenosha, Wisconsin comes to mind. Philadelphia again, Atlanta, where the unfortunate response to many of these police-involved killings is what you're seeing right now tonight in West Philadelphia. So we're going to monitor this story for you throughout the evening, bringing you any more compelling images, any more updates. Like I said, we heard from the Philadelphia District Attorney earlier. We heard from the Commissioner of the Police. We heard from the family and attorney of the Wallaces. So we'll be on this story here on NewsNOW from Fox. I'm Andrew Kraft. We want to thank everyone for watching right now. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Some of you will see this, some of you will not. It'll be about 2 minutes, but stay right here.
This office has made clear that we believe in fairness. We believe in even-handed justice. We are not out to cover for anybody, and we are not out to get anybody. And what that, of course, means is that we have to get all of the information, consider it carefully, find the facts, consider the law, and go wherever they lead us, regardless of who it makes happy, who it makes sad, or what the politics are around that. I think this office has made clear with our lengthy investigation of Officer Eric Rook and his killing of Dennis Plowden, which occurred December 27th, 2017, but did result in homicide charges against former Officer Rook. He was actually fired, so he's a former officer. I think we made it clear that we take this obligation seriously and we take the time that is necessary. I think we've also made it clear in relation to the killing of David Jones and our charging of Officer Pownell, in relation to the charging of Inspector Holmes for multiple sexual assaults, and in the charging of Detective Philip Nordo for a series of sexual assaults against informants involved in homicide investigations, that we will go where we have to go. The other side of that is there have been many shootings of civilians by police where we have reviewed the evidence carefully and we have determined that it does not support criminal charges. And in those cases, we have declined to bring those criminal charges. With reference to the arrests that occurred last night after the shooting, primarily in the area of the 52nd Street business corridor, I can tell you that information from those arrests is starting to come in. I know that the commissioner, the police commissioner, earlier today said that there were 91 people arrested. The way the process goes is that they gather information, they recommend charges, they send it to us. We are the ones who make determinations about the charges, and especially at a moment when a lot of arrests are made, sometimes it is more difficult for all of the information to come through quickly. So as a consequence, we have gotten some of them, but not all of them yet, and we are waiting for more information on these cases. We have processed 27 cases that are being charged as second-degree felony burglaries. These are commercial burglaries in which the people charged are accused of having gone into commercial establishments to take things. Among the locations involved are 1575 North 52nd Street, which is a Rainbow store. 7702 City Avenue, there is a Snipes sneaker store. We have seen 76, we understand there are 76 burglaries in the pipeline. We also understand 3 of those arrests involve a gun. But as I said, it is a process. The information comes through to us, we examine it, we bring charges, and then there are recommendations made on bail, and there are bail hearings. We are in that process. We expect it will take significant additional time. We are expecting to see 11 cases in which the police will present information to us about an assault on law enforcement. We have not seen them yet, and when we see them, we will do what we always do, carefully examine and bring the appropriate charges. Are there any questions?
Yes, sir. Mr. President, do you have any understanding as to why tasers were not being used at this location by police?
It seems to me that is a question more for the commissioner, but I will say this also. We're very early in the investigation. I think your question correctly states that tasers were not used, but as for exactly why, I cannot answer that question.
Do you know what prompted the shooting? Did he lunge at the officers, or were there any commands? Like what made the officers pull the trigger?
So I think the best way to answer that is that there is a widely circulated social media video of the incident that certainly contains useful information and some of the story. There has already been reporting in the Inquirer having to do with the family having made essentially a medical call in relation to Walter Wallace, and instead having a response that was police, as opposed to an ambulance, as opposed to medical services. None of that information is inconsistent with what we have. It's all consistent with what we have, but it's way too early for me to speculate on what was going through the minds of the officers at the moment when they fired their shots.
Do you have body cam footage?
I'm sorry?
Do you have body cam footage?
We have received some body cam footage. You know, one of the good things going on in this police department is that its use is more and more widespread. We do not have all the body cam footage that we need, but we are considering what we have and trying to obtain more so we can consider that as well.
What did you think when you saw the
When I saw the widely released video, I thought it was concerning. I would have to agree with both the police commissioner and the mayor that it presents some very serious questions that need to be answered. For anyone who has seen it, obviously it's a little shaky, and there are some moments when the social media video, we consider it very, very carefully in making our decisions.
Did you review the moment that officers opened fire on the body cam footage? Have you seen that part yet?
I have seen it in the social media, and we are considering we have seen it in social media, and we are considering all the body cam video that comes in. I'd say it's premature to comment on it because we don't have all the body cam video yet.
What have your conversations been with the mayor and the police commissioner? Anything about de-escalation or training at this point?
We haven't spoken about this yet. We've had a lot of conversations with the police about other issues that were going on last night, and also with reference to election preparation. But I haven't had the opportunity to speak in detail to the police commissioner about this incident. Yes, sir? No, I didn't address that, and the truth is I don't know. All of that is within the control of the police commissioner, and of course everything that comes after that. But the police commissioner is the one who has some power to discipline, to suspend, to fire. I'm not aware of her stating that, no.
Coalition. Now, as I'm aware, people called out once again to hit the streets for our outreach teams. A lot of us as leaders, including myself, on our knees, still got beat up by one of my partners, Tommy Blackwell, beat up to the point of being involved. And he's a teacher and a community leader, working with Inspector Woods as we do in West Philadelphia. Myself, on my knees, stopping a whole big raid. The cops seen me do it, but it got them to put the bats down. And they started charging anyways, after they were even leaving. I got on my knees with my son, put my son's head on my lap, and still keep the bats. How do we stop it? There's plenty of good cops out here, but there's so many bad ones that I'm ready to say F the blue. And I got plenty of good friends in blue. But all the bad ones make it, I don't want to be bothered with them or to help the community no more.
So let me say this to you. First of all, I hear what you are saying, and I apologize to you for any violence that may have been inflicted on you by law enforcement. If you have specifics that you would like to report to our Special Investigations Unit, G. Lamar Stewart is right there. He can connect you with the people who need to hear that information. We'll be glad to take it. On the broader question of how do we deal with this, we are in a moment of criminal justice reform in the United States. We are in a moment when everyone wants the system to be better. They want there to be appropriate, fair, even-handed police accountability. How do we do it? The first thing we do is vote. And I say that because it matters who our leaders are, both in D.C. and here. And I say it also because we actually have some things on the ballot this year that apply directly to issues of police accountability and criminal justice reform. We have matters relating to stop and frisk. We have something relating to the Police Oversight Commission. We have an opportunity right now to march. We can march and we can protest peacefully and express ourselves, whatever those opinions may be. And we can also march into a voting booth on Election Day, or we can take our mail-in ballot and march to one of the locations all around the city where our vote can be counted. We are at a moment when we are in the tens of millions of votes that have already been counted. This may be the highest voter turnout in the history of the United States happening during a pandemic. This is something constructive that we can do, and we can get other people to come out day after day after day in this one remaining week to make sure that the things that we dream about, like criminal justice reform, like even-handed treatment of a case like this, like police oversight and appropriate forms of accountability actually happen. We just have to get out and do it.
On behalf of City of Dreams and BBC, partner with BBC, with the guns down, we invite you to come out and hit the doors for us. It's called Block by Block, where we actually knock on doors with real resources that really impact community with jobs and like other things.
Well, my head of community outreach would be happy to talk to you about that. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mike.
Given the video that we've all seen, and the body cam video that you've seen, is there anything preliminary that you see that could potentially indicate the possibility of the charge of these officers at the right moment? Is there anything you saw on the testimony that prosecutors you saw?
All right, you've been listening to the Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner. That's from earlier this afternoon in Philadelphia, talking about the Walter Wallace case. Walter Wallace Jr., he was 27 years old. He was shot by police yesterday in the Port Richmond neighborhood of West Philadelphia after officers said he brandished a knife. He refused to abide by the officers' warnings to put that down. And he was shot multiple times and later died at a hospital. We heard from his mother and father today. His 3 children also introduced themselves, probably not more than 10 years old amongst themselves. And now we're following all of the preparations the city of Philadelphia is taking to make sure this doesn't get out of control like it did last night. We even were seeing aerial footage of people looting Walmarts, Targets, taking a lot of items. So let's look now at these pictures we're getting out of Philadelphia. It looks like a heavy police presence. And peaceful protesters have been marching through the streets there. And I just want to make that distinction that this has been, those protesters are away and separate from the people who are looting the streets of West Philadelphia last night and tonight. You're seeing some people on the back of some type of truck there addressing the crowd with police waiting in tow in case anything happens. Let's listen in to see if this feed has any audio. Bear with me. And it looks like we just have our chopper audio you can hear in the background. This is coming to you live from WTXF Fox 29, our sister station in Philadelphia. In what seems these individuals on top of this truck there are addressing the crowd. We've been bringing you live pictures throughout the night as well of the peaceful protesters marching through the streets of the Port Richmond section of West Philadelphia, separate and distinct from the other images we've been showing you of scores of people looting Walmarts, looting Targets, stealing flat screen TVs, running away, their cars peeling out of the parking lots filled with items in garbage bags that they took from these stores. Also following the reaction to all of this on social media as well. The City of Philadelphia Office of Emergency Management is requesting that all residents in what they refer to as the 12th, the 16th, 18th, 19th, 24th, 25th, and 26th districts remain indoors when necessary, because these areas are experiencing widespread demonstrations that have turned violent with looting. You don't see any violence right there in the feed we're showing you. Obviously, earlier in some of the live camera angles we were showing you, fights were breaking out over stolen items from those televisions, electronics that people were taking from Walmart and Target. Obviously taking advantage of this unfortunate situation here in West Philadelphia. So we want to continue following this story for the next couple of minutes here. This is the only angle we have to show you at the moment. It seems as if there are more police, to be honest, rather than marchers and protesters. But what looks like Chestnut Street is the name of that street in the Port Richmond section of West Philadelphia is completely blocked off by police. Haven't seen any traffic. It's about 10:20 p.m. there on this Tuesday night. The district attorney of the city earlier today saying he was concerned by those cell phone videos posted on social media of the shooting itself of Walter Wallace Jr. yesterday. Someone, may have been a reporter or just someone in the public, asked him a question at that press conference today. What can be done about this? The DA, Larry Krasner, simply responded that people should vote if they don't like these situations happening, saying police reforms are happening all across the country. Obviously, we are just 6 days and several hours away from the general election. The city of Philadelphia obviously having to prepare for anything for Election Day there, but now being sidetracked by this tonight in the city. Most probably taking away vital resources local officials probably want to put into the election, but having to deal with this now tonight. And while we follow this story, we want to bring you all the breaking news happening around the country today. We've been taking you around the country for political events. The president having 3 rallies today. He was in, in Michigan, Wisconsin. He just wrapped up a rally in Nebraska. We heard from former Vice President Joe Biden. He was in Georgia today. We heard from Senator Kamala Harris. She was in Las Vegas and Reno, Nevada. And it looks like we want to go back out now to West Philadelphia, where marchers and protesters in what looks like have set something on fire in the middle of the streets there. Let's listen in. Obviously, there's a bunch of news photographers trying to capture the images there of something on fire in the middle of the street in West Philadelphia. Looks like a bunch of debris that was set on fire. Not entirely sure of what has been set on fire. Looks like more journalists and photojournalists are around it trying to capture the images rather than protesters themselves. I cannot make out what is being burned at the moment. But for those of you watching, we're going to keep it here on this story. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Some of you will see a 2-minute advertisement. Others will see what's on your screen right now. Stick with us. They each fired at least 7 rounds for a total of 14 shots. It was not entirely sure how many times Wallace was struck. We know he later died at the hospital after suffering wounds from being hit in the shoulder and the chest. And it does look like traffic is now being let through this street. Cars are having to maneuver around this debris that's on fire in the middle of the street there. According to the Associated Press, the 2 police officers still had not been interviewed as of this afternoon. Neither had a taser or similar device at the time of the shooting, but they were both wearing body cameras. That footage has not been released yet. in preparation for tonight, you saw all of the police stationing those extra officers on business corridors in West Philadelphia, so it isn't as bad as last night. Still, there were lots of looting, lots of debris on the ground, but some businesses did preemptively board up as a precaution. So I know we've been on this story here on News Now from Fox for a while now. We want to find something else for you happening. We'll continue to monitor this situation and these images out of West Philadelphia. I want to thank everyone for watching. I'm Andrew Kraft with News Now from Fox, one of their digital journalists here based in Phoenix, Arizona. It's about 7:30 on the West Coast, 10:30 there in West Philadelphia. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Some of you will see this, some of you won't. Stick with us. And we welcome everyone here to News Now from Fox. I'm Andrew Kraft. It looks like we have another camera angle for you, another aerial view of what's happening right now in West Philadelphia. We're going to take this full for you. Bear with me here for just one moment. Heavy police presence there on the streets. I'm not seeing really any protesters at the moment. This looks mostly like police working on getting more information on what we're seeing right now. Earlier we were bringing you those pictures of that structure on fire in the middle of the street there in West Philadelphia. And I'm being told I have the location wrong. This is in Brooklyn, New York. A protest over Walter Wallace still, though, but happening in Brooklyn, New York. Brooklyn, New York has been a site of these protests all summer and into the fall. And so you're seeing a heavy police presence there. in the borough outside New York and Brooklyn. Not sure if they've made arrests. This is coming to you live from our sister station, WNYW Fox 5 New York. Seeing more police than protesters. Let's listen in to see if we can hear anything on the chopper audio. And like I said before, this doesn't look like your average protest, your normal protest. There's no one marching. So we're trying to figure out what we're seeing live here in Brooklyn, New York. Preliminary information is telling me that this scene was a protest over the shooting of Walter Wallace. Obviously, Philly not too far from Brooklyn. We're going to find out for you if maybe some of the protesters there in Brooklyn may have been arrested tonight. Maybe that's what the heavy police presence is for. And now we have a little better vantage point, but it looks like police are arresting someone, handcuffing him. We want to just give you this other vantage point that's in the lower right-hand side of your screen. That's in Philadelphia. The upper left is in Brooklyn, New York. These are all protests stemming from the shooting death of Walter Wallace Jr., the 27-year-old African-American male who was shot by police officers yesterday. We have a better ground view vantage point in Brooklyn there on the left-hand side of your screen. And what appears to be some protesters being handcuffed, being put in the back of police vans. And remember, many arrests happened in Philadelphia last night. I'm sure there will be some arrests tonight as well amid the looting scenes we've been witnessing for the last couple of hours. Philadelphia officials were ready for this. They learned their lesson after last night, after things kind of got out of control. But right now there is mass looting underway in Philadelphia. Not in the scene you're seeing right now in the lower right hand of your screen, but we were showing it to you earlier. And this story moving all the way to Brooklyn, New York as well, where people were marching in solidarity with the family of Walter Wallace. Some of those people being arrested right now in the top left of your screen outside that Brooklyn NYPD precinct there. And remember, some of these businesses in Philadelphia are African American owned. That a lot of these looters ransacked last night and tonight. And what we didn't show you in the scenes coming out of Brooklyn, New York, there were large crowds there. They seem to have dispersed according to the camera feed we're showing you here, where arrests are being made. Still, though, from the feed in the lower right of your screen in Philadelphia, things remain peaceful. And remember, these are just two camera angles and vantage points that we have here at NewsNOW from Fox. We're getting reports, though, that in Philadelphia, mass looting is still underway, but we cannot see that in these camera angles right now. We want to just take you now solely over to West Philadelphia. Where protesters have gathered in the Port Richmond neighborhood, marching and protesting after only 24 hours and the shooting death by police of Walter Wallace Jr. According to cell phone video from the scene that captured the shooting that was later posted on social media, his mother, Catherine, was there trying to talk officers down and talk her son down. There have been reports that he has a history of mental illness. Not sure specifically the contours of that. We heard from Police Commissioner Danielle Outlaw today that she was still reviewing body camera footage. It was reported that both the police officers were wearing body cameras. The Philly Police Department is withholding information identifying the two officers. We don't know their names, we don't know their races just yet. The Philly Police Commissioner wasn't sure she could release that information and that it wouldn't pose a threat to their own personal safety. The officers have been taken off street duty during this investigation, but they still work for the force. Remember, this all happened yesterday. This is still a very fresh, new, developing story. We're following it here on NewsNOW from Fox. But before these aerial footage, we showed you, we heard from the Philadelphia District Attorney, Larry Krasner. We heard from the family of Walter Wallace, his father, his mother, his three children who all introduced their names. The three of them not over 10 years old, very young children. Heard from the attorney for the family as well. So we'll still be following this story for you throughout the night, but want to switch gears here as well. There's been so many stories today around the country. Want to go out to Florida now, where Florida Governor Ron DeSantis held a roundtable meeting with officials trying to combat the opioid crisis there in the Sunshine State. Let's listen into that.
practices, evidence-based best practices and outcomes. Then beyond that, and that's really where this grant is coming in, it is incorporating the communities. It's not a top-down state approach. It is the communities who are the driving factors behind the success in helping people in need. And so that goes beyond just government, because we've always said that government is not the solution. It is a part of the solution. And so therefore we are working with the private sector, as you can see here. We're working with law enforcement. We're working with our educators. We're making sure that the faith-based community is involved, the private sector. Everybody has a hand at the table, and that we're not going down separate roads, but we're working together, again, with a unified goal, and that is making sure that we're helping people in need. And really the Hope for Healing initiative, this is where I see it going forward, because it is one thing to provide somebody with help. It is another thing to provide them with hope. And we have to make sure that while we are giving them the treatment and the services that they need to be able to battle the addiction, we also have to make sure that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And that comes in the form of hope and opportunity and living the American dream. And so I really think that this grant, as we're looking how it works in Seminole County, I think it is a great driving force for best practices. And I was excited to hear a little bit earlier when we were talking with the good folks back in the room, saying we're going to measure this, we're going to follow the data, we're going to follow the evidence, and we're going to make sure that there are good outcomes. And then this could be a good pilot, but a good first step to implement it statewide, because at the end of the day, what this is all about, they're good people who are suffering. It's just making sure, especially in these difficult times, that they're getting the help that they need and the hope for the future, and that's really what this is about. So I'm honored and privileged to be a part of it, so thank you.
Great. All right. Katie Bowman, can you just tell us a little bit about your story and where you were and where you are now?
Sure. So in September, I celebrated 8 years clean from my demons of opioid addiction, and it was a lot of things that got me to that 8-year mark, but I was sharing with folks in the room before that this epidemic is really an addict's dream, because we love isolation when we're alone. We like to be alone with our shame and our guilt and our addiction, and I'm so happy to hear of a program and a place where people can go to get that help, receive that connection that we need, connection with my community, connection with a good job that I could earn a good livable wage working and supporting myself, gave me that hope that I needed to turn 6 months into 1 year, 1 year into 2, and 2 now into 8. And service opportunities to give back to the community is also a really pivotal part of giving people that hope. So it is a combination of important people in this room that are making something really great happen for that forward momentum in this battle against opioid epidemic. And I'm glad to see that there is still some light and some importance being shed upon that issue, because it is still such an issue, and can't wait for the center to open. I hope that I will be able to give back in some capacity once the center's open, and just help share that hope, because that is such a big part. And then support for the families. I know that's a big part of what you guys are trying to achieve, because navigating addiction is scary for the person suffering from it, but I would imagine it is even scarier for the families. So giving them that navigator and helping them figure out treatments, best ways to stay clean, best ways for the families to support them, and those other avenues is going to be really pivotal in turning this around.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Dane Eagle.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you to the First Lady for their commitment to continuing to fight the opioid crisis. This is something that they were committed to right out of the gate, and here we are in the middle of the COVID crisis, and it's something they haven't let up on. In fact, they're doubling down because it is needed. As Katie has mentioned, isolation, quite frankly, unemployment, that breeds addiction, and we need to continue to address it. So I'm very pleased for the opportunity to work alongside them to focus on this. The Department of Economic Opportunity gets to do a number of wonderful, great things, but as we pull ourselves out of this current crisis, the COVID crisis, and get ourselves back on to getting people back to work, we can't lose sight of some of the substance abuse and mental health issues that are out there. So I look forward to partnering with this community and others as we implement implement this pilot program. And as the First Lady said, this isn't a top-down approach. While we will be working on behalf of the Governor and First Lady to administer these funds, we'll be looking at these organizations within the community to help us pinpoint exactly how can we solve this problem, how can we get down to the individual in that community, make sure they're getting the services they need, and then duplicate that or replicate that on a statewide basis and actually have measures that we can look to and try to get that done. So we'll be working with CareerSource, with Seminole State College and Project Opioid, with the Sheriff's Office, and quite frankly with community leaders who have a keen understanding and advice of how we can solve this crisis. So once again, thank you to the Governor and First Lady, and I'd be remiss if we didn't thank the President and his administration, as this is a grant from the Department of Labor, and they certainly care. So thank you for this opportunity.
Great. Sheriff Dennis Lima.
Well, thank you, Governor and First Lady, and welcome back to Seminole County. And as you know, I've had the privilege to work directly with you and your administration since the first day that you took office, and you have not wavered in your commitment to protect the most vulnerable. So I thank you for that. Central Florida thanks you because the $400,000 appropriation that we have for our Hope and Healing Center here, combined with our partnership with the public-private partnership and Advent Health, quite literally is going to save lives. But to talk about the stats that you're seeing right now, what we're seeing is an unprecedented now dependency on substances and co-occurring mental health issues. In Seminole County alone, we have nearly just shy of 600 overdoses since January 1st. And I think if you look at that, that's pretty standard in populations our size. What's frightening is 76 people have died of an opioid-related overdose since January 1st. That's a 15% increase. And there is no question that the isolation and collateral unintended consequences of COVID-19 stop people who were in treatment. Those that had life problems before that only became more complicated as they lost their jobs and worried about the economy and all of these other things. So we have to be prepared to take on these responsibilities. We know that through Project Opioid, we have a very, very unique partnership that we're going to move statewide with the Governor and the First Lady's assistance. This brings in public and private sector and faith-based partners to really collaborate on strategies that are science-based best practice strategies that not only help the person who is navigating a course towards a path to recovery, and we are just absolutely blessed to be a part of it as we continue to fight and help reunite families and save lives. So thank you both. Thank you, Governor.
All right, Mimi, go ahead.
Thank you, Governor and First Lady. Again, I echo the sentiments of the team here before. It's an honor to be able to do this, and I'm so appreciative that it's a workforce development grant, too, that we're able to take talent and train people to explore careers and make new decisions for their lives. Self-worth is around a career. You want to feel good. You want to be able to support your families. And the efforts of this grant, which is such a community collaborative approach, is how we're taking this, is going to involve kind of three things. We're going to work with our career seekers and help them transition. Maybe they have been justice involved or had some mistakes due to this epidemic. Now we're going to be able to benefit on that and be able to be treatment centers and be able to have them be peer counselors and help individuals and remove that stigma and get them back into new careers of something that they didn't realize they could do but do have the talent for. These dollars are going to help that training and be able to give those skills upgrades. We're going to assist businesses to be able to recognize and address when these issues are there. Right now, businesses may not have the expanded EAP programs to support and be able to address this and lose a good worker when it was really just an addiction, or it could be a family member that's suffering this and it's having an influence on their lives. So we're very appreciative about that. So I love the fact that it is a collaborative whole system of care approach that this community is going to do. So I'm excited that Department of Economic Opportunity has recognized that in Central Florida, we're going to have 3 different workforce boards work and put about $3.6 million right here of this grant to be able to help these. So I thank you.
Great. Thank you. Bob?
Thank you, Governor, First Lady, and Director Eagle for being here. Grant, and the job opportunity is one of the things that's going to help those that are suffering through the substance abuse, but it has to come also way we can. The legislature has done a great job in providing policies that have helped eradicate the substance abuse disorder and opioid from the state and the federal level, which has been coming, but it is important to continue the collaboration that we see on the local level. Collaboration from entities like Project Opioid, the Sheriff's Office, Advent Health, and all the other partners, Career Source and everything else that locally you for your efforts to recognize that the substance abuse and the mental health go hand in hand, and that there's a need to address it and not ignore it. And here at Seminole State College, we're ready and willing to assist you and anybody else in helping with this cause, and I thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Bob. And so. Even if you're not doing anything directly that is going to help this, and obviously then we come over the top and try to do more.
Certainly, and thanks to the governor and pushing to have our state reopen and start moving the ball forward. The unemployment trends have been positive, and yes, we have a lot more work to do, but certainly at the height of the crisis, we had very high unemployment numbers, record high unemployment numbers, and that sort of situation isn't good for anybody. Nobody wants to be unemployed. No one wants to have to call DEO and look for reemployment assistance, not the claimants, not government, not anybody. The best thing we can do is find people find meaningful, gainful employment, and I think the majority of Americans are looking for that too. So it's important that we continue to, quite frankly, reopen the state, but the governor has challenged the Department of Economic Opportunity with making sure that workforce development projects are in place so that we can get people who are looking for employment off unemployment assistance and back out and getting to work. So we are focused on that instrumentally and look forward to moving things forward. But as he mentioned, as we have the unemployment numbers, if they are increasing, you got people that can't find employment. They can't go to work. Everybody wants to be able to put their best foot forward, be producers, be able to feed their family, put food on the table. When you can't do that, it breeds frustration, and it might breed a situation where Katie's discussing where they fall into perhaps relapse or the first time finding themselves addicted to substances. So this particular grant is going to be extremely helpful as we pull out of the crisis to be able to address those individuals, address their needs, make sure that they can find unemployment so they can put their best foot forward, get back to work, put food on the table, but also find ways to break down those barriers and try to curb some of those relapse situations. So we look forward to digging in further with our local community partners, but we're on track to do some great things here, thanks to your leadership.
What would you say that was the most important thing in you turning the corner? I know it's been 8 years, but.
Well, finding that gainful employment for myself was a key component. As Mimi mentioned, that really helps with the kind of the lack of self-worth you feel when you're coming out of a long addiction. So finding that purpose, but also the benefits that I received once I got a good position, working full-time for therapy, medication-assisted therapy, and having access to therapists and doctors so that I could use some medications to help me get through those first few years. I did the Suboxone therapy under the medical care of a doctor, was in mental health counseling for the first several years, and had I not had a job with benefits, I don't know that I would have been able to pay for that without having a good job working and supporting myself.
So as we look to deal with this, when people get addicted, is it with the opioids? Is it still more of legitimate kind of medical need, get painkillers and get addicted, or is it more stuff that is that is kind of black market, just recreational drug use? That's the biggest problem, would you say? I
think the recreational drug use is kind of taking over a little bit more just because it's becoming more prevalent. Drug dealers see that there is a higher level of addiction, so they only have to maybe sell it once or twice, and they have a whole new group of people very heavily dependent upon that substance because it is so powerful. The opioids are way more powerful than I think a lot of the other recreational drugs people were using in the past.
What are you seeing in terms of drug ED visits, overdose visits, deaths from drugs beyond just opioids, because I think, we've looked at the statistics, and we have seen the increase in opioids. Fortunately, I think we've seen it somewhat flatline over the last few months, still flatlining at a much higher level than we were, but at least stop the increase statewide.
All right, you've been watching Florida Governor Ron DeSantis address the opioid crisis in his state of Florida there, talking with survivors and local officials on how to best combat it. You're going to see a quick commercial break for those of you watching. Others will not see that, but it'll be about 2 minutes. And I want to thank you for watching News Now from Fox.
Talent in these individuals, and behind these big numbers are real people, and being able to use the workforce system and getting people connected to careers with portable.
All right, you've been watching this press conference from earlier today in Florida with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis speaking about the opioid crisis there and the solutions officials are using to combat it. I'm Andrew Kraft, News Now from Fox's digital journalist, and you're looking at live pictures of a story we've been following for the last couple of hours out of West Philadelphia, where protesters have taken to the streets and looters have taken to the department stores over the unrest and angst and anger after the death of Walter Wallace Jr. just yesterday at the hands of police. He was shot by 2 police officers after they told him to stop wielding, allegedly he had a knife. And cell phone video captured all of it and it was posted later on social media. And so now we're seeing the second day of looting and of protests, what have remained largely peaceful in West Philadelphia. That's the Port Richmond neighborhood there. And we've been following this story for you. Seems to be some type of barricade the police has made with protesters on the other side. Has not been breached at all. This is the only aerial vantage point we've been showing you. But if you'll remember, we showed you many, many looters not too far from this intersection ransacking a Walmart. There was a boarded up Target. People were taking flat screen TVs, tying them to the roof of their cars, peeling out of the parking lot. Some really unfortunate scenes coming out of Philadelphia with just now 6 days before November 3rd, the election. And I'm sure Philadelphia officials want to focus on that and not this right now, but they have to. And we're bringing you answers once we have them from the district attorney in Philadelphia, the police commissioner there, on if they can release any more information on what happened to Walter Wallace Jr. I want to switch gears here and now go out to the West Coast, where we're following these terrible wildfires out of California and Colorado. This is coming from our sister station, KTTV, Fox 11 in Los Angeles. This all happened too, starting Monday morning. Winds picked up 50 to 55 miles per hour in what's known to meteorologists as a Santa Ana wind event. And there you have some flames, and the GPS is giving you street names as well. We were showing you images earlier today of the flames approaching the interstates there in Orange County and Irvine County. Thousands of acres have already burned. Mandatory evacuations have been put into place for thousands of people already as well. And what we're looking at right now is Orange County, California. I'm sorry, I put Irvine in there in the graphic, but no, this is Orange County, California. This is the Blue Ridge Fire outside Yorba Linda, California, where winds are continuing to fuel this fire. It ignited on the west end of Corona in Riverside County and quickly spread now into Orange County, which is what you're seeing on your screen right now. It's already burned about 15,000 acres, and officials have not contained any of it. 0% contained. The blaze is threatening homes in heavily populated Yorba Linda and Chino Hills. The Orange County Fire Authority said residents in nearly 8,500 homes have been evacuated, and it's already destroyed about 10 homes in Yorba Linda. We also have some new images and new scenes the Corona Fire Department has released. Show you some of those right now. This is coming from Twitter saying, your Corona firefighters worked through the night last night to protect our city from the Blue Ridge fire. While there is still much work to be done, the efforts of the CFD, the Corona Fire Department, have resulted in minimal fire activity on the Corona side of the fire, with no current threat to our community. So you've seen some really terrible scenes coming out of Southern California as firefighters scramble and work to contain this blaze. But as of right now, they have yet to do so. And I'm Andrew Kraft, and we want to thank everyone for watching NewsNOW. I'm Andrew Kraft. It's about a little after 8 p.m. here in Phoenix, Arizona, after 11 p.m. there on the East Coast. We're only 6 days now from the 2020 election on November 3rd. And we want to take you out now to a story we've been following throughout the evening out of West Philadelphia, where still this barricade is set up with police and protesters. Hasn't been breached at all yet, thankfully. No violence has broken out. Not sure of the number of arrests made. But as far as I can tell from what we've been monitoring and observing for the last couple of hours here, it is status quo at this intersection in West Philadelphia, as citizens there express their anger and their outrage over the death of Walter Wallace Jr., who was shot to death yesterday by 2 police officers in the Port Richmond neighborhood of West Philadelphia. So we'll be monitoring this as well. We don't have any more information really to tell you at this point, other than looting, massive looting was underway. You'll see some of the debris there on the ground on the sidewalk. And so we'll bring you more when we have it. I want to take you to some other scenes around the country that we have for you. Here's a picture of the White House. A live look. The lights are off there at the executive residence. The president had 3 campaign rallies today, all across the Midwest, in states he's trying to win again in 2016, like Michigan and Wisconsin, and that 2nd congressional district in Nebraska. Remember, Nebraska is split electorally in the Electoral College in 2. The Omaha area, the Omaha region, the president is looking to win again, but it's looking to be tight with Biden right now. And FNN8, we were just showing you the wildfires, but here's a live look at Los Angeles there. We like to take our viewers across the country at any of the live pictures we have. Some of them are quite scenic. This is LA County or Orange County, I believe. And speaking of the fires in California, I want to play for you now an update on those fires from earlier in the day from officials in the state there. Let's play that right now.
Good afternoon, folks. My name is Jeff Ike. I'm the incident commander for CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 6, and I'd like to take just a second, and on behalf of our CAL FIRE Director and Fire Chief Tom Porter, I'd like to thank Chief Fennessy for your very kind words. We're very humbled, and we're very glad to be here and engage in this fight and help keep everyone and all of your homes and all the infrastructure in Orange County safe. So I'll keep it very brief here. We have multiple speakers here, but I'll talk about what CAL FIRE Incident Management Team has been brought in here to do. And then the second part of that is what we need you as the public and media to help us do. So CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 6 is one of 6 statewide CAL FIRE incident management teams made up of approximately 56 team members that are designed and built to come in and mitigate and suppress large damaging wildland fires like we're dealing with currently here in Orange County and neighboring Riverside, San Bernardino, and threatening Los Angeles County. So I want to make sure that everyone completely understands what an incident management team does, and most importantly, know as an incident commander, I still work for your local fire chiefs here, Chief Fennessy here in Orange County, the CAL FIRE executive and leadership and management, and then all of our unified command players, all the law enforcement folks that are involved in the unified command structure, and all the fire agencies, to include both Riverside and San Bernardino CAL FIRE units, Chino Valley Fire, Orange County Fire, and then if the incident does grow or potentially will enter in, and as the incident commander, I will work for those fire chiefs directly as one team, one fight to make sure we have a standard management and control objectives that will all be worked out together in a unified command format. So essentially, as the incident commander of a management team, we are being brought in, just as the chief said, the complexity has risen, the Santa Ana winds, and we have 2 major wildland fires challenging us at the moment. So that is why the incident management team here understand all of the local, state, and federal interests are being represented at the table, and essentially that will be the incident management team's job and my job to carry out those management and control objectives. Okay, so what we need you and as the media and the public to do, and the first item that I'd like to share, and most importantly today, is heed the warning. When our partners up here in law enforcement and fire stand together and we identify an area for an evacuation warning or evacuation order, please know that's all of your local fire agencies and law enforcement at the table making collaborative decisions in the best interests of public safety. We please ask that you, if your community or where you live has been placed under an evacuation warning or order, you'll learn that by following all your local social media sites and following all the news channels that are videoing us as we speak. Please heed the warning, folks. Again, that's all of us working together to protect you. So again, heed the warning. All of us, law enforcement, fire, we stand together with you. We are all one team, one fight in combating these 2 major fires, and thank you.
From Brea and Fullerton Fire Department, I'd like to welcome Chief Lozier.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Adam Lozier. I'm the fire chief for the City of Brea and Fullerton Fire Departments. On behalf of the City of Brea, I want to extend my sincere appreciation to our cooperators, our partners, Orange County Fire Authority, Chino Valley Fire, and LA County Fire. We are a part of the Blue Ridge incident that is happening on the north part of the county, and we stand ready to assist our partners just as much as they are standing next to us to assist us in our time of need. For our city, we do have evacuations, mandatory evacuations that are still in play for the Olinda Village and Hollydale Mobile Home Park. We have voluntary evacuations for Olinda Ranch. As Chief Vec mentioned, it's very important for us to abide by those evacuations and let the first responders take care of the situation that is at hand. And if, according to everything else, if we can wrap this up by the end of this day, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
From the City of Irvine, Chief Mike Hamill.
Good afternoon. So as you heard the Fire Chief Brian Finnissy report out a minute ago, some of the evacuation orders have now been lifted for the City of Irvine. The primary duty now of the Irvine PD, our police department, will be to help facilitate repopulation of the areas. We'll have many public safety personnel in the areas as we speak. All the roadways leading into the evacuation zones, the roadways are being opened up, and our job is to ensure, again, the safe return of our residents. I'd like to say thank you to all of our residents who have demonstrated a great amount of patience and cooperation during this ordeal. We are grateful for your cooperation. And furthermore, I again just want to comment on our amazing partnership with Orange County Fire Authority. And we've been in lockstep with them since the beginning of this thing yesterday. Also thanks to OCSD, our partners as well, and others who have been working to ensure the safety of the entire city of Irvine. And as a last comment, I again want to extend my sincerest thoughts and prayers to the Orange County Fire Authority personnel in the hospital who are in there with severe injuries, and I wish them the best. Thank you.
Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes.
Did I turn this off? Is it on? First and foremost, I want to also acknowledge, and our prayers go out to the members of the Orange County Fire Authority who were injured in yesterday's fire. This is a dangerous job. We know the risk. We try to mitigate the risk, but it doesn't change the impact of staff and personnel when something tragic like that does occur. In Orange County, we have a unified command. Law supports fire during fires like we are experiencing right now. The Orange County Sheriff's Department, with the assistance of 13 municipal law enforcement agencies within Orange County, have been assisting with Orange County Fire Authority and other municipal fire agencies with evacuations. To date, we have assisted with 90,000 evacuations of residents within the County of Orange. Many of them have had mandatory evacuations and many with evacuation warnings. And that means to get prepared in the event that the fire changes course, and they should be ready to go on a moment's notice if that were to occur. This is what the important part is about these evacuations, and having dealt with fires now 3 times in these areas over the last several years, in 1999, 2007, and again this year, we know how to work collaboratively with our law enforcement and fire partners, including the CHP and resources from beyond the county throughout the state. The worst thing that can happen today and will help create unnecessary risk for those fighting these fires is for people to self-mobilize and try to get in close to the fire and look at things from a closer perspective. That does several things. First and foremost, it creates congestion upon the roadways. When these fire apparatus, the engines and the trucks that are trying to fight these fires have to pivot on a moment's notice based on the threats that are coming into out of the wildland interface and impacting the communities. They cannot do that if people are looky-looing on the roadways and keeping people from moving about. So if we are evacuating, we need these roads clear so people can get out of these areas that are being impacted. They need to be able to go on a very short timeline with an open roadway. And more importantly, as the fire crews that are courageously fighting these fires, they need to be able to move about and get to where they need to be quickly. And that's to be able to save homes and save lives and protect property. But they cannot do that if people are just driving into the area to get a closer look at these fires. So we are conducting road closures in cooperation with municipal agencies, my organization, the Sheriff's Department, and California Highway Patrol. If you think you're going to come into this area to get close just to drive around and look, we're not going to let you in. Residents will get in to prepare for evacuation. And if we have mandatory evacuations, they will have a clear path out of the area so they can get to safety. So once again, if you're not from the area, do not drive here thinking you're going to get in to get a closer look at the fires. It does nothing but create unnecessary risk, puts firefighters and law enforcement personnel at risk of injury or death by keeping the response the way we need it to be, which is clear. We need clear roadways to be able to make that happen. The Orange County Sheriff's Department has so far deployed 13 mobile field force teams. That's 13 teams of 12 personnel. As of this morning, went to tactical alert. That's a tactical staffing deployment where we cancel days off of all of our personnel. It ensures that we have the ability to respond to calls for service within our patrol divisions, and also to provide additional personnel in the event that we have to have resources on hand. Most of those will be staging and will be ready to go, but we have literally hundreds of deputy sheriffs ready to assist with evacuations, road closures, and egress of people who are in the area. This is the important part, most importantly. In Orange County, and I'm not saying this doesn't happen in other places, but we have a phenomenal relationship and collaboration with the Orange County Fire Authority, our municipal police agencies, our state agencies that put us in the best posture to be able to respond and keep our residents safe. Coincidentally, just last week, we conducted a tabletop exercise on this exact scenario that put us in a position to practice before we needed to go into full action, and that's a level of preparedness that we do on behalf of you. This only works.
You've been watching an update from fire officials in California on the Silverado and the Blue Ridge fire that are scorching thousands of acres and causing mandatory evacuations for many Californians. We want to just take a quick commercial break, about a 2-minute advertisement. Some of you will see this, some of you will not, but please stay here on NewsNOW from Fox. Thanks.
successfully lift all orders, the city's EOC office will remain active, plenty of water, and we're caring for their animals as well. Again, I would like to offer my sincere thanks and gratitude to the Orange County Fire Authority, our Irvine Public Safety Department, our city employees, and all of our community partners for their support and dedication during this very difficult emergency. The outpouring of support was so impressive and indicative of this wonderful city and community we live in, and including Orange County. Thank you very much for being here today.
From the City of Lake Forest, Mayor Pro Tem James.
Good afternoon. Sorry for my tardiness. My family and I were evacuated last evening late. I was in the city of Orange when I got the call to be here, so thankful to be here. Again, I'm also thankful for the assistance of the Orange County Fire Authority, all their men and women on the lines fighting the fire, doing a fantastic job. Also for Sheriff Barnes and men and women of the Sheriff's Department who are out protecting our homes. We're truly grateful for that. Our thoughts and prayers are too with the 2 firefighters who were hurt yesterday during protection of our homes and our neighborhoods. We've evacuated 9,500 residents' homes and 20,000 residents of our community. We understand how difficult of a time this is for everybody. We're asking that you obey the mandatory evacuation orders. The areas are full of trucks and emergency personnel working on the fire and protecting the homes. Please abide by the evacuation orders. Let the firefighters and the police officers, deputy sheriffs do the job. We're also thankful for the community support that we've received from our community, looking for ways to help during this tragic event, and also for just our relationship with all of the public safety agencies. The unit that came through my neighborhood last night asking us to evacuate was actually from the Santa Ana Police Department, so tell you how far away they come from to help us out. Lastly, our emergency care facility is also open at El Toro High School. It's a large facility, there's still room, and it is open 24 hours a day. And all of our press conference information will be published through the city's website and all of our social media platforms. So thank you again.
From the City of Yorba Linda, Mayor Haney.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Beth Haney. I'm the mayor of Yorba Linda, and I just wanted to say thank you so much to the Orange County Sheriff's Department and also the OCFA, the Fire Authority. They've been working tremendously hard, and I'm with great comfort that they are taking care of us and we're all under their protection. Please also join me in sending your prayers to the 2 firefighters that are in critical condition right now. Nothing brings us more sadness to me and my city council colleagues than the threat of wildfire on our residents and their homes. I am just so thankful for our OCFA and the Sheriff's Department for working so diligently. If any of you have family or friends that live in Yorba Linda, or you yourself live in Yorba Linda, please visit our website. We have up-to-the-minute updates and also many helpful links that will help you navigate everything from finding a site to go stay overnight if you need to, or taking care of your small and large animals. The website is yorbalindaca.gov. And again, thank you all very much for coming out.
Orange County Supervisor Steele.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michelle Steele, Chairman of the Orange County Board of Supervisors. This morning, I signed the declaration of emergency for the Silverado and Blue Ridge fire, which have burned down over combined 28,000 acres and have required the evacuation of over 90,000 Orange County residents. This declaration gives local agencies the required tools to fight and contain these devastating fires. I also asked the governor to declare the state of emergency and make all relevant funds available to Orange County responding agencies, community members, and businesses affected by these fires. The county is monitoring the situation closely and is ready to assist as we face this natural disaster together. I wish a speedy recovery to those brave not just 2 or all 5 firefighters who were hurt while protecting our community from these fires. And we have to remember the hardworking men and women that put their lives on the line to protect all of us, ensuring that these fires are contained and our communities are protected is my top priority as we face this together. I want to invite Supervisor Wagner to the podium, but I have proclamation of local emergency. If you want to have it, I have about 20 copies, so you can have it. All the media people, I didn't bring 20,000, but I brought 20. So thank you very much for inviting us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairwoman Steele, and I want to thank all of you for coming out. And to continue the theme of thanks, it is my privilege to represent about 600,000 people in Central Orange County, large numbers of which are in the communities that are affected by the fires. I am privileged to represent the Canyons, the city of Irvine, the city of Yorba Linda, Tustin, and I know that yesterday and through the evening, residents of my 3rd district have found themselves in some very perilous situations. We want to thank collectively the men and women of the Orange County Fire Authority and, of course, the partners that have come in. CAL FIRE, wish we could invite you to Orange County under better circumstances, but we thank you for the response, the prompt response in coming down. We've had, as you heard from Chief Lozier, some support from the Fullerton and Brea fire departments. We've seen, obviously, Irvine and their police department, represented by Chief Hamill and the hundreds of great men and women in that organization, working through the night to keep the communities safe. Of course, the Sheriff's Department has been just working overtime to make sure that the people they serve are as safe as possible. We've seen enormous responses from the community as well. Just, about an hour and a half before I got here, I heard from Cox Communications how they spent almost 24 straight hours working just on getting communications at this site up and running, so that we are able to better, more efficiently manage the response for the communities that we serve, thanks to Cox Communication. And I know, of course, I'm missing folks in offering those thanks. I would be remiss, however, if I did not say on behalf, again, of the 600,000 people that I get to serve, to the 2 men in the hospital fighting for their lives. You have the thoughts, of course, and the prayers of this entire community. We look forward to seeing you out of the hospital soon and back at your posts, because we know you represent all that is good in the men and women who serve from any of the agencies that I just mentioned. Thank you to you for your service. Finally, I want to say to the residents who are out there, you have opportunities at this point to see the resources that are available to help you. If you are under a mandatory or even a recommended evacuation order, take a look at the county's website. Go to my Twitter page, @DonWagnerCA. You'll see the resources that are available for you, your families, your pets, if you have to evacuate. I will add, one of the things that Chief Barnes and Chief Fennessy both said, if an evacuation order comes down, even if you're able to look out the window and no flames, no smoke, take it seriously. Number one, we know how fast these fires can move, and you can find yourself at a moment's notice cut off. Number two, the sooner you get out, the less at risk not only are you and your family, but less risk to the law enforcement or the fire personnel who are supposed to come up and take care of your block, your street, your neighborhood. Get out when the evacuation order comes down, please. Last quick point. About 2 weeks ago, Supervisor Bartlett and I worked with the Sheriff's Department, worked with Orange County's Parks Department, and of course with Orange County Fire Authority to do a town hall. What to do in the case of an emergency, how best to protect yourself. That's archived, that town hall from about 2 weeks ago. The information is very fresh, is available to you if you have, doesn't even take an hour, an opportunity. If you live in an area that is prone to wildfires here in Orange County, go on that site, take a look at the town hall that we put together, and learn what you can do now to protect yourselves in the event of any future emergencies. So once again, thank you to everybody that's come out and responded like such heroes to fight these fires. We appreciate, the residents appreciate the hard work that you've put in. Thank you all.
From Orange County Professional Firefighters, Local 3631, President Stegin.
Good afternoon. My name is Tim Stegin, and I'm proud to represent and serve as president for over 1,100 men and women here in Orange County under the flag of Local 3631. As I look in front of you and is addressing people in their homes, there's no other way I can transmit this. We have 2 significantly injured hand crew firefighters that are our members. That being said, we, the local's executive board, including myself, have been with the families since the incident occurred. The families have wished us to transmit to you specifically to stay positive and keep them in your thoughts and prayers. As I go on to thank the folks that have surrounded us and our members, I want to reach out and say thank you to the citizens of Orange County and the greater Southern California area. Their level of support has been over the top. Words can't even explain it. That being said, I just got off the line working a 24-hour shift on the Blue Ridge fire, where we were able to significantly reduce any damage to property and life. I took great pride working hand in hand with my members in this time of need. I'd also like to thank the fire chief and his staff. The collaborative efforts that we go forward, working together, only my membership and their employees will benefit from. Starting with the resources that we've received. We've been contacted by the International Association of Firefighters, District President 10, Frank Lima, Vice President Frank Lima, and his District Field Service representative, as well as the burn coordinator from the International. They have been in close contact with both families. We also have had our mental health teams flown in as far away as Washington, D.C. and Jacksonville, Florida. Our 2 critically injured firefighters are going to need long-term care to get through this life-changing event. To that end, the Orange County Professional Firefighters Relief Fund, which is a 501c3 account, needs the support so that we can continue to support our members and their families through this recovery process. Those wishing to contribute to the OC Firefighters Fallen Firefighters Relief Fund need to go to the OC Firefighters webpage at www.ocfirefighters.org. Again, please direct all donations to www.ocfirefighters.org. In closing, I would once again like to thank you for your support, and please remain vigilant. And remember, we're still in critical fire weather, and our first responders are engaged in firefighting as we speak. Thank you.
All right, this is Andrew Kraft. You've been watching an update from officials there in Irvine, California and Orange County, giving an update on the Silverado and the Blue Ridge fires from earlier today. We want to thank everyone for watching News Now from Fox on this Tuesday night. We'll be transitioning now into our slate of stories for you that we've played throughout the day to play again on overnight. So let's go to that right now. This is the New Orleans mayor updating officials there on preparations underway for the storm Zeta that just made landfall in Mexico.
Coming to the city of New Orleans, as we have demonstrated throughout this hurricane season, even prior to the hurricane season starting, that the city of New Orleans is prepared. Seems like more and more prepared every single time, and we're wanting to encourage our residents, our visitors, do not have any fatigue. That now is not the time to lay back. It's the time to continue to stand firm and be prepared to respond to whatever comes our way. I'm joined here this afternoon with our Director of Homeland Security, Colin Arnold. I'm joined also by Director of Public Safety and Homeland Security, Colonel Ebert. Also, Dr. Jennifer